When I came, they told me something else, and I'm coming. You got an interview there, so it's a big surprise anyway.
Welcome to WatchMojo UK, and today we're looking at times people got on live TV and it didn't go well for them.
I did actually send a tweet out yesterday saying I don't like eggs, and I really don't like eggs now.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Piers Morgan.
Okay. Do you know?
Do you mind if I ask this
You
question?
can,
Piers?
but I just want to put you up on that one point. No, it's important.
He was supposed to be speaking on live TV, in contrast to most of the other people on this list, but that doesn't mean he doesn't rudely interrupt people. In particular, while fronting Good Morning Britain, Morgan was known to often get into spats with co-presenter Susanna Reid, and Reid never took it lying down. In this memorable incident, Reid was conducting a serious interview with Tory Health Secretary Nicky Morgan back in 2016.
I was going to ask about turnout amongst younger voters.
No, this is a bit of a myth about young people. It's a myth, isn't it? Because actually most of them couldn't be bothered to vote.
Though she argued with him and insisted she get to ask her question, he steamrolled right over her and asked something else. Eventually, he'd interrupt GMB in the ultimate way by storming off mid-broadcast like a child.
OK, I'm done with this.
No.
Sorry, no. Sorry.
Do you know what? That's pathetic.
You can track him, maybe not my
No.
See you later.
I'm being...
Sorry, can't do
This
this.
is absolutely diabolical behaviour.
Sepp Blatter's windfall.
Sepp, this is for North Korea 2026.
Excuse me?
Thank you very much.
Sorry, this is starting. We're starting a press conference.
In 2015, at a press conference in the height of the FIFA corruption scandal and allegations its members had been taking bribes to ensure Russia and Qatar won their World Cup bids, somebody played quite the joke on President Sepp Blatter. The man approached the desk with a large stack of cash and began addressing the crowd, though he didn't have a microphone, so it wasn't easy to hear what he said.
Where is my security? Come on. Come on.
Come on. Come
on.
It makes sense for everyone. Here we go, Sepp. That's thank you. Here's Sepp, it's all there.
The message was clear though, when, upon being grabbed by security, he threw the money over Blatter and the desk. It turned out that the money was real, about $600, but so were the trespassing charges the man, comedian Simon Brodkin, was hit with.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have to clean here first. Otherwise, I will not be able to speak to you.
I don't work here.
This is what economic activity looks like. Building things, making things, selling and spending.
In this brief clip, BBC anchor Ben Boulos was reporting on skyrocketing inflation in late 2023 and had been sent down to a local market to report on location. However, standing there in his high-vis, he was mistaken for a trader by a passerby. The bloke walked past and then stood awkwardly out of frame, waiting to speak to him, and we can imagine he was in for a lot of embarrassment if any of his friends or family were watching and saw the mix-up.
I don't work here, I'm just doing the news. Sorry, the typical basket of goods and services has gone up in price.
Boulos dealt with it as quickly as he could, but we can't believe the bloke didn't notice that he was talking into a giant television camera with a crew around him.
The figures that we got this morning show that it was stagnant, it was flat.
Theresa May's P45.
Self-confident Britain, while our opponents flirt with a foreign policy of neutrality and prepare for a run on the ground.
This was actually another high-profile prank from Simon Brodkin, here disguised as a journalist, rather than any of his more well-known characters. Apparently, his trespassing charges after doing a similar stunt with Sepp Blatter didn't dissuade him, as he turned up to 2017's Tory party conference armed with a printed-out P45.
You may not have heard me say that. So some people say we've spent too much time talking about Jeremy Corbyn's past.
May accepted it without making too much note of what it was, though it was clear as day for the cameras, and continued on with her speech. Meanwhile though, all eyes were on Brodkin, who kept talking to people on the front row before eventually being escorted out of the conference while they chanted at him. Italian police.
There's the least
Tower of Pisa, which is so iconic. So we've obviously got, oh my gosh, we haven't got a permit. Listen, guys, we're in Pisa. We're not allowed to film here.
Allison Hammond was sent to Pisa on the Disney Magic Cruise as part of a promotional deal for This Morning. But unfortunately, somebody on the production crew didn't do their due diligence. They didn't get the right permits to film outside the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and so Allison was nearly arrested on live television.
Go somewhere where you've got a permit. She's coming back. She's coming back.
Go.
What is she like?
She kept talking despite security getting in the way, though in the end it was the Italian police who ended up looking ridiculous. They did manage to get the permits so that she could film in secret after briefly going into hiding to avoid getting a stronger reprimand.
Babes, I've got great news. Yes, I have my permit, so I can film anywhere. I can film anywhere, everyone. I can film anywhere. Yes!
Prince Andrew's heckler. During part of the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, the funeral procession, made up of all of the senior members of the royal family, including the King, were hit with a heckler who'd gotten to the front of the crowds. This was up in Edinburgh, before the coffin had made its way to London for her actual funeral, and nothing like this was able to happen on the day itself. The man in question shouted at Prince Andrew that he was a sick old man. He was promptly arrested, though the CPS decided not to charge him. People in the crowd were dead against the funeral being interrupted, even though we're sure they agreed with the assessment of the Duke of York.
Disgusting! Wait, I've done nothing wrong.
Egg throwing. The year was 2013, and Richard and Adam were performing in that year's Britain's Got Talent final. It was all very serious until a woman left the orchestra at the back with a box of eggs and started chucking them at Simon Cowell. The performance continued after she was picked up and carried off stage by security, cheering as she went, and Cowell had to take off his egg-covered jacket. In the end, the woman was classical musician Natalie Holt, who was once a BGT contestant, and wanted to make a stand against Cowell's dreadful influence on the music industry, in her own words. She did later apologise for interfering with Richard and Adam's performance, and no charges were pressed.
Apologies for that happening. Obviously, that was not part of the act. We'll get to the bottom of what that was, so well done for carrying on.
Kicked out of Question Time.
It was a hung parliament. I'm not a Conservative, so I didn't lose anything. Excuse me.
Though it's not entirely live, being filmed slightly earlier in the day and then given just a bit of editing to trim it down before going out at 10 o'clock, this moment stayed in the final taping of that week's Question Time. This bloke was kicked out of the studio by David Dimbleby after he went after pundit Gina Miller, who was giving her opinion on the hung parliament in the 2017 election.
Even if there is no deal with the DUP, the government can operate because they won.
It was quickly branded as a pro-Corbyn loony by the press after raging against Tory policy earlier in the recording, but was so angry he took it out on the wrong person.
Well, now, hang on.
No, we
Listen,
don't.
I think you ought to leave, you know, because...
He didn't seem to realise that Gina Miller doesn't actually work for the Conservative government. Ben Brown gropes a passerby.
Hello, good afternoon. This is BBC News. I'm Ben Brown.
Another incident from the 2017 election. Ben Brown was out on the streets talking to people about Jeremy Corbyn when a woman stepped into frame. She was trying to give her opinion on the political discussion, but Brown pushed her aside, not seeming to realise he'd done so by grabbing at her chest.
Yes, Jeremy Corbyn, when he was asked, just give us one sec, please. Jeremy Corbyn was asked whether he would end the freeze.
She slapped him on the arm and left the frame while he remained totally unfazed, though he was criticised in the media for doing this. You always look ridiculous if you're interrupting a live broadcast, but Brown came out looking much worse for the accidental groping, though the entire incident was soon forgotten. Guy Goma.
So what does this all mean for the industry and the growth of music online? Well, Guy Cuny is the editor of the technology website News Wireless. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning.
He didn't exactly interrupt because it was the BBC's mix-up, but this was still an incident that wasn't supposed to happen that looked bad for everyone involved. Thinking he was only at the BBC for a simple job interview, Goma was mistakenly led onto set and then introduced as a different man with the same first name, only realising something had gone wrong when he was live on air.
Were you surprised by this verdict today?
I'm very surprised to see this verdict to come on me, because I was not expecting that.
The awkward interview went down in TV history as he struggled through a segment about a court case between Apple and the Beatles, though still no one noticed. In the aftermath though, Goma did suffer because he never got the job. He later reappeared on the BBC and publicly apologised.
Do you think now more people will be downloading online?
Actually, if you can go everywhere, you're gonna see a lot of people downloading to the internet and the website everything they want.
Let us know in the comments the funniest live TV interruption you've ever seen.
Are you okay?
Guys, my holiday has turned into the Bourne Identity.